He found her slumped against the wall in the living room, clutching her arm and surrounded by the monsters she had slain. She looked up when she saw him, and a brief smile touched her lips before a wince took it away. "Are you okay?" he asked, and he could barely hear her response over the chorus of voices in his head. "Your fault. Your fault. Your fault. I would have come out of the house like we planned if I was fine," she said and adjusted her position. Her teeth clamped together and her eyes shut tight as a spasm of pain hit her, and she sat there like that and waited until it subsided. He watched her helplessly. "It's spreading," she said, opening her eyes. "Let me see." He knelt next to her side, and he gently peeled her hand away from her arm. They both sucked in a breath at the same time. The bite was just above her elbow, and the blood surrounding the broken skin was red but tinted purple. "It's not blue yet," she said. "We can still talk for a bit. There has to be something I can do." "There isn't." She covered her wound again. "Let's just talk until you have to leave, okay? But I could have come in with you." "There's no point," she snapped, then took a deep breath. "Sorry. I just meant, what's done is done. And you're not infected, so our plan worked out. One of us lives on. It was my turn to go and look for supplies, so I got infected. Please, can we just talk?" "Yeah?" He sat against the wall with her, careful to avoid the splatters of blue blood that pooled on the floor. Even after months of killing the monsters, his brain refused to register their blood as blood. Blood was red. It wasn't the icy blue that coated his shoes, that covered the bodies around them. He remembered a conversation that they had a while ago. He had remarked on the strange coloring of their blood. "It makes them easier to kill when they have blood like that." She was mad. "It's not easy to kill them. They were once human like we are now." He backtracked, trying to avoid an argument. "I know, I'm just saying that our instincts say it's wrong to kill humans with red blood. We don't register that as blood, on a base level. It is wrong to kill," she said, and that was that. "How are you feeling?" he asked her. She chuckled. "What do you think?" "Sorry. Don't apologize." She sighed. "Tell me about last night. You're a good storyteller, and I want to remember the stars." "You were there," he protested. "But the memory has faded. The feelings have faded. You can bring them back." She looked at him, her chest rising and falling with her labored breathing. "Okay," he said and touched her shoulder. "But you have to stay with me for the whole story. If my blood turns fully blue, you're getting out of here, story or no story." She warned him. "But we're wasting time. Get on with it. Is this how you want to spend your last moments?" he asked her. "Yes," she said, determinedly. "I want to spend it with you. I want to remember the stars, and the moment I realized I was in love with you. I want to spend my last moments remembering my humanity." He nodded solemnly and began his story. "Last night, we found an old takeout place in the middle of the city. The two of us raided the back for non-perishables, and found a couple bins full of sauces, in little packets. We gathered the bins in our arms and climbed to the roof of the restaurant. The sun was setting, and it filtered through the broken glass on the ground. You said it looked like the sky had shattered and fallen to earth. I said that was very poetic. You punched me in the arm and I laughed, and then we played with the packets, stacking them into forts and a pyramid until we got bored. We then used them as snowballs, throwing them at each other and darting around the roof until it was too dark to see much, and then we sat on the edge of the roof. A lot of the lights were out, and over the past couple of months, air pollution had gone down. We could see the stars, twinkling specks of life that painted the dark sky above us. I held out my hand, and you put yours in it. We sat in silence, tired and awed by the galaxies we could see from the rooftop. We were so small, so insignificant. The monsters we could see in the distance didn't matter. Our entire struggle to survive was meaningless. And then I looked at you, and the world came back into focus. It didn't matter how big the sky was because you would always be a bigger part of my life. The cosmos may not care about you, but I did. I do. You are my everything. And as you looked back at me, the galaxies in your eyes, I knew that I wanted to kiss you. And then you asked if you could kiss me. She said. And then I asked if I could kiss you. He nodded. She made a little noise, and he looked at her. She smiled sadly at him and showed him the bite on her arm. The blood was fully purple now, and fading to blue. I love you. She said, quietly. I love you, too. He responded, and kissed her. I want to stay with you forever, love. But you have to go now. She pulled away from the kiss and handed him her backpack. His eyes filled with tears, and he kissed her on the cheek. I can't leave you. You have to go. She said softly. Look, my blood is blue. You only have a couple minutes to get out of here. Goodbye, he said. Goodbye, she whispered, and he left. I had a tough time sleeping that night. After all the stress I endured today, it felt like I was losing my mind. It just felt like my mind was foggy. After a long 12-hour shift on my construction job while in 101-degree weather, the last thing I needed now was no sleep. My body is tired, but my mind just keeps wandering. After many moments of tossing and turning, I got up and go down my old creaky stairs to go to the kitchen for a drink. I grabbed a cup and started to fill my cup up with ice from my refrigerator. I then switched the settings on my fridge and began to fill my cup up with water. I began drinking my water and started to get relief. I looked at the clock on my microwave and the time read 1:09 a.m. Sigh. I have to be at work at 8 in the morning. My thoughts were abruptly interrupted by a loud thud coming from my kitchen window, which was adjacent from my fridge. I paused and looked around to check my surroundings. Nothing in the house seemed like it fell over. A couple of moments go by and nothing happens. I chalk it up as my restless mind playing games on me. I turn away from the window while sipping my cup until another loud thud came from the window again. I almost choked on my water from shock. The thud was somehow louder than before. It sounded as if something was purposely hitting against my window. I turned around slowly and started crouch walking towards the window. As I approached the window, I paused for a moment. Really only because I am freaked out. My window has a blind over it. I was too much of a coward to pull back the window blind. Until another loud thud came from the window. I began to panic. I put my hand on my window blind and took a deep breath. I tell myself that I need to know what is making that noise this late in the night for peace of mind. I make a little crack in the window blind, just enough for one of my eyes to see. I began looking out into the darkness of the night. Nothing but forest trees slightly waving in the night's breeze. A sigh of relief overcame me and I felt relaxed. I looked at the clock on the microwave again and it was 1:15 a.m. I came to the realization that it has to be my mind. Working 60 hours a week is starting to take its toll on my mind. While thinking, I heard another loud thud. Again, from the same window in my kitchen. Maybe it is some kids trying to play a prank. I walked to the window confidently and pulled back the whole blind. What I saw haunts me to this day. As I began falling to the ground from fear, I saw a man that was in his late 30s-40s. He was shirtless with a bloody knife and was holding a dead cat by the nape of its neck. While in shock, the man looked at me and made eye contact. The shocked and horrified look on my face must have brought some sort of joy to the man. as he began to tilt his head ever so slightly and grin widely. The man then used the cat to strike my window. Thud. It was the same sound as before. I finally snapped myself out of my shock and began to stumble to my feet. Then, the man began screaming like a maniac while slicing a portion of his right pec. He licked the blood from the knife he was holding and started screaming again. I booked it out the kitchen and up the stairs to my bedroom and locked the door. I began breathing heavily. I frantically tried searching for my cell phone. I tore up my whole bedroom and found nothing. The man continued screaming loudly, but this time it sounds as if the man is going around the perimeter of my home. I remembered my phone is plugged on the charger in my kitchen by the fridge. I put my ear to the door of my bedroom to try to pinpoint where the man is. It still sounded like the man was outdoors. I unlocked my bedroom door and ran down the stairs. I went to the kitchen and saw blood and broken glass everywhere. The man is still screaming, but now it sounds clearer. The man is shouting, "Blood, blood, I wonder what your blood tastes like," followed by deranged laughing. As I panicked, I spotted my phone and grabbed it. Then, I heard another thud followed by the sound of glass breaking from the adjacent room by the kitchen. I ran up the stairs to my room and locked my bedroom door. The screaming sounded closer now. I could tell that this lunatic was in my house. I began to shed tears as I typed the password in my phone. Under so much stress I accidentally got locked out of my phone. I wiped the tears from my eyes and looked at my phone closer. The phone screen read "Too many password attempts, try back in 1 minute." I now heard heavy footsteps in the house, followed by glass and other objects being moved around. I put my ear to my bedroom door and I can distinctly tell that the man is in the kitchen. I hear the man open and shut the fridge while laughing to himself. I can hear muffled talking but can't make out what is being said. I look at my phone and the message disappeared. I began to slowly type my 4-digit password in. I pulled up the phone app and my body froze up. I heard a creak come from the stairwell. I just override my fear and hide under the bed while dialing 911. My phone began to dial. Then, I heard more creaks on the stairs. Moments went by. I felt so scared. Then silence. The operator broke the silence by saying, "Hello 911, what's your emergency?" I began to whisper that I need help until I hear a loud noise come from one of the upstairs rooms. I continue to explain to the operator the situation at hand. The operator tells me the police should be there in 3 minutes. I slowly crawl from under the bed and barricade my bedroom door with my cheap IKEA dresser. I pushed the dresser up to the door but it tilted slightly forward and knocked against the door. I then heard loud steps come from down the hall. The footsteps ended right in front of my bedroom door. Then, silence. I laid on the ground and slowly crawled on my belly back to my hiding spot under my bed. While making my way to the bed, the silence was broken by a loud, almost beastly roar. My chest began to hurt. Loud thunderous bangs started. I finally made it under my bed. It sounded like the man was throwing himself against the door. He began shouting, "I want your blood. I want it. I want it." While he kept banging against the door and trying the doorknob. I could see clearly from under my bed and I could see about an inch under the doorway. The man was barefoot. I could see my IKEA dresser trying to hold firm but to no avail. The dresser tumbled out from the door. Now, the door was just my last line of defense. The man continued to scream and roar like he was possessed or something. Siren noises could finally be heard over the man's screaming. The sirens sounded close. But as quickly as I felt relieved, it was soon met with dismay and dread when the man finally busted through my door. I put my hands over my mouth to try to muffle my breathing. The man starts sniffing around like some sort of animal. It reminded me of a dog sniffing around a tree. The man suddenly stopped sniffing and ran to my bedroom closet. He opens the doors and started throwing all the items out of it. Clothes, shoes, containers, etc. The sirens sounded like they were in front of my house. I heard 2 distinct doors slams. The man continued screaming, "I want your blood." The man then walked over about 5 feet to my bed. I could see that he is standing right in front of me. I can't help but glance at his feet. His feet were dirty and bloody. But, among the dirt and blood, I noticed that there were markings on his feet that seemed to be done with a sharp object. The language looked like some ancient text. I pulled my phone out and snapped a picture of his feet just in case I died so the police could decipher the markings on his feet. But I had forgot I left the flash on. Once I snapped the picture, the man saw the flash and dropped to his knees and lowered his head down to look under the bed. We instantly made eye contact and the man grabbed my right forearm and pulled me from under the bed in one swift motion. His grasp was so tight that my arm went numb. No way, I thought. I weigh around 235 pounds. I began screaming and the man drew back his knife and plunged it right into my gut. I began to bleed profusely. My body felt cold. I looked into the man's eyes as I started to fade in and out of consciousness. Both of the man's eyes were pitch black. I suddenly heard 2 sets of footsteps running up the stairs. It was 2 cops. The cops started issuing orders. The man pulled the knife from my gut and took a half step towards the cops. He was instantly met with a hail of gunshots. The man crumbled to his knees and then falls to his left side facing me. The man reached over and touched my blood-soaked shirt. I saw my blood on his hand as I was struggling to stay conscious. The man moved his now blood-soaked hand to his lips and licked the blood from it. He grinned, and then tried to reach over to me again before letting out a huge sigh and dying on my bedroom floor. I passed out. I woke up in the hospital and was immediately met with intense pain in my abdomen. Doctors and cops rush into my room. The doctors tell me that I just came out of surgery due to a 6-inch puncture wound to my abdomen. The cops started to question me about what happened at my home. One policeman showed me pictures of the dead man's body that was in my house. I noticed that there are words written several times all over his chest, back, and arms with the text being no bigger than half an inch. I asked one of the policemen to hand me my phone. He handed it to me and I pulled my photo app up and showed them the picture I took of the weird markings on the man's feet. The text matched the words that were engraved on the man's body. One policeman types the phrase in his phone. They are puzzled and I ask them, what does it say? In Latin it says sanguis est anima vivens, roughly translating to the blood is life. My body shuddered as I looked out my window into the dark abyss of night. My eyes struggled in vain, scouring the street, searching, hoping, praying the words sent to me weren't true. I see you. Do you see me? I held my phone up to my face again, trying to steady my already shaking hands. Maybe it was a prank, or maybe the person who sent it had the wrong number. At least, that's what I told myself. At least, that's what I so desperately wanted to believe. Ever since I moved into this house, strange events have happened to me. At first it was random items going missing or being misplaced. Soon after, my devices were hacked into, first my phone, then my computer, and last my cameras. The police said there was nothing they could do. A few months later, I noticed a figure following me. I was able to convince myself it was just a coincidence, that the human-shaped figure was just simply a normal, everyday person who just happened to be going to the same places I was, at the same time, every day. But now I wasn't so sure. A quick vibration brought me out of my thoughts. I stood there in the darkness, blankly staring out my window, gathering the strength to bring my limp arm back up and read the text. After what felt like hours, I finally mustered up the strength. I glanced at the electronic device in my hand, squinting a little against the blinding light. My eyes quickly looked over the letters of the text, processing the information the message held. I see you. Do you see me? The same message as before. Now, somehow even more terrifying. It made the thing I was afraid of true. I couldn't help the audible gasp that echoed from the back of my throat. My entire body shook from pure fear, and I could feel the perspiration starting to manifest on my skin. My mind, frozen in time by those 7 simple words. I see you. Do you see me? That's when I saw it. The same human-shaped figure, standing beside a lonely lamppost. Right in front of my house. My instincts told me to move. They told me to get out of this house as fast as I could, to run until I couldn't run anymore. But my feet remained where they were, hoping the protection from shadows in my room would save me. My mind and body were paralyzed by the increasing horrors. My eyes focused back on the ominous figure outside my home. The dim light only illuminated the figure's body from behind. Did it seem closer than it was before? I fearfully urged my body to do something. Anything. But nothing happened. My eyes zeroed in on the figure yet again. It was definitely getting closer. Then I saw a reflection of light coming from the figure. Something long and shiny was in the figure's hand. With closer inspection, I realized it was a knife. The human-shaped figure had a knife. My entire body started to go numb. I remembered the phone in my hand. But what good would it do if I was too afraid to move? Too afraid to make even a slight movement with my fingers? Too afraid to reach out for help? My phone buzzed again, alerting me of a new message. My lungs started to ache. My heart was slamming against my ribcage impossibly fast. Is it possible to die from fear? Again I stood there, in agonizing silence, gathering the strength to read the message sent to my phone. Do you see me? I looked back out the window, my eyes searching. Then my stomach dropped, and fear entered my bloodstream. The figure was no longer there. Bang! 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 Something was pounding on my front door. Bang! Banj! Bang! Am I going to die? Another message was sent to my phone. Let me in. It will be fun. It's going to kill me. I am going to die. This was the moment my body should move. This was the moment I should run for my safety. This was the moment I should fight for my life. But my body wouldn't budge. I remained petrified in place. The sweat dripped down my face as I wondered what my death would be. Bam! There was another loud bang, then came the sound of wood splintering. The hair on the back of my neck stood up on its own, and I could feel the effects of adrenaline starting to kick in, coursing through my veins. Another buzz came from my phone. Don't try to hide. I'll find you. Those words on the screen finally snapped me into action. As silently as I could, I sprinted to my closet. I shoved myself in and closed the door, praying to God it wouldn't make a noise. Then I heard footsteps. Thunderous footsteps that were coming up the stairs. Heavy, thumping footsteps that sounded closer with every passing second. Footsteps that were coming closer to me. My lungs started to ache, pleading for air. I tried to slow my heartbeat, afraid the monstrous figure would be able to hear it. I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping this was just a nightmare. Hoping I would wake up soon, and this would just be a distant memory. A buzz from my phone brought me back to reality. Come on and let me see you already. I'm tired of only watching you through a camera and while you sleep. It's been here before. It knows where I am. The heavy footsteps were getting closer to my room. I could hear the faint sound of jagged breathing alongside them. The horrifying sound of something sharp being dragged across something hard made my skin crawl. I opened my eyes and peered through the slits of my closet doors. I could see the horrifying human-shaped figure, and the cold, sharp knife in its hand, leaving its mark deep in the flesh of my walls. A gruesome preview of what was going to happen to me. The jagged breathing became louder, heavier with every step. It almost sounded excited. My lungs felt like they were on fire now, begging for anything that could even slightly resemble a breath of air. My phone vibrated one last time,